Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Steph Sells Homes podcast. Today we have a very special guest. This is episode 31. Yeah, 31. I actually put 32, but it's 31. I'm a little ahead of myself. Before we introduce her, I did want to share with you guys two sponsors. Cameron at ADU West Coast, where I record my podcast every week. And then also Sean at 10K Cards, who we gift a 10K card to everybody who comes on the show. So shout out to them and shout out to everybody who continues to listen in every week and support me and support everybody, right? I'm really excited because last week's event was a female. Today we have a female. Next week I'm interviewing another female. So we're just like, women are on fire this week. And with that, I'm going to, let Kelani introduce herself. She is the co-founder of Women in Real Estate, which is, how many members do you guys have? Like over 100,000 already or close?
Close. We're about at 70,000 right now.
That's insane. Yeah. So Kelani and I, I'll let her introduce herself and then I'll tell you guys how we met. So welcome, Kelani.
Thank you so much. 31 episodes. That's an accomplishment. Like that's consistency at its finest.
And let me tell you, I'm behind because I set myself for failure for year one after, I told myself I was going to do the episode. I wanted to do 50 for the year. And so this is episode 31 in the last 2 years. So I've been taking my time, but it is an accomplishment. You're right.
Quality over quantity, right?
That's right. Yeah.
At the end of the that's what it's about. I'd rather you have quality content and impacting people. But so I'm honored. Thank you for inviting me to come onto your show. Hey, everybody. My name's Kelani Blackwell. I am the co-founder of a nationwide organization called Women in Real Estate that is focused on empowering women in real estate and entrepreneurship through education, networking, events, and opportunities. And my background in the business is pretty extensive. I started in the fix and flip space, managed a large scale fix and flip operation and boutique brokerage, turned commercial real estate broker at the largest commercial firm in the world with an emphasis on multifamily investment sales. And then Women in Real Estate fell into my lap and just took over my entire life. And if I'm being honest, it's the most fulfilling work I've done to date. So I'll keep it brief because I feel like we're going to get into a lot of the stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, that was a dope intro. As you guys can see, she has done a lot and we're going to dive deep into that. I think your background really helps who you are now with Women in Real Estate and how you move the brand, how you guys position yourself in the marketplace. I could tell like you've been doing this for a while and you're really good at it. Kelani and I met at through an audio platform called Clubhouse. For those of you guys who don't know, Clubhouse is like it's an audio platform. We met there. And I was like, damn, this girl knows her shit. And like your confidence just, you can hear it through the app. And I remember I wasn't as confident going up on stages to speak, but you were always like really welcoming. And going into the Women in Real Estate rooms, I started connecting with her and we started meeting other people, through the app. We finally met in person. What was it? 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago now? It's been a minute.
Almost 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a minute. 2 years. We met in Long Beach. There we had like a first ADU event here, and they flew out. Her and Brittany, who are both the women that are behind this whole Women in Real Estate movement. And her platform grew huge. You guys like right off the bat hit what, like 60,000 members or something like that?
Something crazy. So okay, the algorithm gods were favoring us. I think
they really were, because the app is not what it was anymore.
The app is not what it was, but I think that just goes to, it's a testament to the fact that if you create value, the people that are supposed to find you will find you.
Right.
And instead, Women in Real Estate just fell in my lap. It literally did. I didn't know that there was such a need, but then as we started to do the work, it made sense because I'm like, oh my God, there's other people that feel just like I feel, experience what I experience, and haven't had the access to the education that I've had in the real life work experience to accomplish what they want to accomplish. So, thank you for saying that. I came off confident. I really, it's funny that you say that because early on in the app, I got a lot of interesting feedback from people who didn't know how to take my confidence. And, I was called aggressive at some point. It's like, no, it's not that. I'm just the only woman on a stage with 20 other men talking.
And I've learned how to talk like this. No, I think you know, offline, I am a little bit more, I get aggressive all the time, or firm or confident. But I think it's also like our background and where we come from. But being in a male dominant sport, you kind of learn how to set boundaries and how to sound more firm or position yourself in a way where you kind of have to. You know, we can't be all like smoothie and touchy and like, you know, what is the word that I'm looking for? Like softy is what I'm looking for. You know, you
Feminine.
just cannot, you cannot.
So people would argue femininity, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think there's a
So
place and time when I love the feminine energy. I 100%, I'm super glad that I'm a woman and that we carry this feminine energy. But when it comes to dealing with men and out in the work field, you kind of do have to take off that hat and put a more firm one on. And you just radiate confidence. So there's times when I'm nervous and I'm like, what would Kehlani do? I'm like, she'd be confident as fuck. So here we go, you know, let's tackle this. Which takes me to the next topic is I want you to touch on the meetups, because that kind of inspired me to take action, because I saw you and Brittany doing these massive meetups, and you guys, you know, kind enough to have me fly out to Houston, and I was part of one of their meetups there, and I was just like, wow. Yeah, I do meetups at a very small scale here, and everything that goes behind the scenes, the logistics of it, it's crazy. So at what point you guys took off on the app, you got a whole bunch of subscribers or members. At what point did you and Brittany sit down and say, okay, we need to get structured with this and we're going to take it 10x and like go nationwide with this and start creating meetups literally like nationwide?
yeah. So, well, let me explain kind of the structure of how it happened, and then I'll explain
Okay.
why it was so necessary. So I'm gonna back into it. So I didn't know that we were gonna go as crazy as we went. It caught like wildfire, right?
Big time.
And I think that's just a testament to the need for the safe space and the support for women in the business. It just went crazy on its own. We didn't have to try hard to create the value that was obviously needed. That's number one. But we were being asked to do more. You can only do so much through Clubhouse, through an audio chat room, through social media.
Right.
And I think that the idea of social media, it can be intimidating to folks. My Instagram and was private before Clubhouse. And the only reason I made it public is because I had too many follow requests. I couldn't get through them fast enough. And social media was not my life. I'm not an internet guru. I'm not an influencer. Some way can consider me that now. That was never what it was intended to be for me. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
an internet marketer. I'm a real estate professional. And I just happen to have enough experience to be able to help someone. And so, you know, my chapter 25 is not the same as someone's chapter 1 or 2. And although I'm not nearly where I want to be, there's still so many things that I want to do and accomplish,
Right.
and you know, paths to trailblaze so that I can bring our people with us. That's all part of my plan still. I still am going to do that, but I can't discredit what I've learned and what I've experienced up to this point. And I realized how many people were just hungry for that information. So then I think the obvious go-to, which a lot of people and influencers did in the space, they created courses off Clubhouse and took that following and made courses. And Brittany and I were really intentional. From day one, I said, I'm not doing a course, not doing
Mm-hmm.
it. I'm not an internet salesperson, not doing a course. Then people were like, how do I connect? Can I pay you to coach me? And I'm like, no, you can't pay me to coach you. I'm giving away all the goods for free on Clubhouse. But it just further solidified, it was confirmation that we needed to do something more. So we created Women in Real Estate, the company, and created a membership platform. So it started off as a small cohort mastermind. We turned it into a membership platform where members can join. It's a subscription model. You can be a part of it for as long as you want.
Mm-hmm.
Access to our back-end portal, all of our recorded content. We bring in experts to teach. I teach, Brittany teaches. It's like a directory. We've got member perks, discounts to events, discounts to softwares and data. We've got and events, right? So to answer your question about the meetups, when we started to grow, we realized we were getting invited to conferences. We were going places where we would need to speak. And a lot of our following were in these places. So we would just host, before you even came to the one you went to, we had done a whole pop-up tour where we did these smaller brunch meetups. We were renting out restaurants essentially and packing them out. And women would show up. We would have brunch together. We would highlight a few influential women in the space. And we created an environment, a safe environment for women
For
to
women.
Now,
Mm-hmm.
when you have that kind of platform, and pool, I guess, of people, you realize that everything that you thought you needed exists within the ecosystem already. You need access to funding, you got it. You need a realtor, you got it. You need a lender, you got it. You need a commercial broker, we got that too. You need someone to help you with evaluations, we got that. You need someone to make an introduction at a commercial firm, we got that. And so when we really started to rely on ourselves, we realized everything that we needed, we already had. And so the events just became, as the pandemic quieted down, the events
Mm-hmm.
just became the in-person, like, you're real. And I had somebody tell me this a couple months ago, just a couple months ago, that I had gone to get coffee with. He was like, wow, you're exactly who I thought you were online based on who I follow. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, of course I am. But a lot of people are not.
Are not. Mm-hmm.
We wanted to take down that velvet rope theory. I'm not untouchable. Brittany's not untouchable. Our connections aren't untouchable. Let's get in the trenches with each other, and
Right.
a rising tide raises all boats.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I think we went on a live last week, you, me, Brittany, and
Ashley.
and Ashley. Yeah. And you guys asked me a question. How would I describe their meetups, guys? What did I say? I said it's very high level. And when I went to Houston, I mean, everybody that I met and that you had me on the panel with, I became friends with. We connected on social media.
Yeah.
And you start building it opened up my mindset to then start building a network outside of California, right? And start building dope relationships with other realtors, brokers, anybody in the industry, really, whether they're in the industry or not, but just connecting with other people nationwide. And me going to that event, I walked out with a huge network, a huge network and very high level people that you're going to eventually create opportunity with if you know, like, and trust each other, and you get to bond and build relationships with. I think now we've seen each other a couple of times now, right? Because I think before the Houston event, I did see you in was it Atlanta and then New York, or no?
Yeah, both, I think.
Both. Yeah, I
I
think
think
it was
both.
both. Yeah. Yeah. So all those meetups, it was just a crazy wave of meetups happening after, because you're right. A lot of people were selling courses, but you guys taking the membership option or business model was genius. Who helped you guys besides, I know you and Brittany have a lot of experience, but I see Alvin, I see Ahmed, I see like these people that are just gravitating towards you guys and are like literally cheering you guys on in the background, and they have your back, right? How important is that, would you say, the relationships that have came about through the consistency of your guys' meetups and the consistent value that you guys are adding?
Yeah, it's invaluable. So Women in Real Estate is designed and created by and designed to help elevate women and entrepreneurs and minorities. But we're inclusive, and we have men that are members as well. And we love having them because it doesn't diminish them any to support women, but furthermore, it's a display that you can learn from women too.
Mm-hmm.
More than just supporting us. It's not just you're supporting us. We've got members that are like, I'm here because I need the information. I need the access.
Right.
Cool. So I want to add a little bit more color to what you just said. So we had run into each other a couple times, but now it's not, I would consider you a friend. Now if someone's like, oh,
100%.
Stephanie, I'm like, that's my girl. What do you need? Like, we need to hit her up. We need to contact her. Let's do
Mm-hmm.
that. So it's more than just creating the initial relationship. How do you make yourself an asset? How do you open yourself up to be used as the vessel that God created you to be, is number
Right.
one. And then
Mm-hmm.
number two, how is that connection reciprocated? So for me, I'm big on discernment. I think I know a lot of people, but I think a lot of people know me. And I don't say that arrogantly. I say that in the sense that because we have such a big platform, I'm super big on discernment and using it responsibly. Brittany and I are super critical on who we put in front of our audience, because we're being trusted by a group of people to lead them and bring quality information and access and opportunities.
Right.
So the fact that you and I have become friends, I mean, just in this few minutes we've been talking alone, I think people would clearly see the synergy, the similarities
100%.
in beliefs, the similarities probably in personality, and just how we value relationships. So how instrumental our relationships. It's not a cliche when people say your network is your net worth, and it's not just what people can do for you. So like if someone hits me up and is like, can I pick your brain? The answer is no. You can join Wire, right?
Seriously, yeah.
But if you were to call
Because
me, so I
reciprocity
need,
has to be there, it has to be there. And, I know that I can hit you up and you'll reach out, but you also know that in return, anything you need in LA, I got you recovered. And even, I'm flying out next month too to Vegas, or I might drive out. I don't know yet. But, you called me and I was like, I'm there. How can I support? And you're like, yeah, I need more women. And that's another thing too that I'm trying to get better at. And I see you guys and I'm learning and I'm taking notes, and I need to have more women as speakers for some of these events that I've been coordinating. It's so easy to just have the men all the time, but sometimes I feel like I need to build a more solid network with women that are reliable, that are going to show up, and that do want to be that face for us, right? And have other people that look like you and I up there on those stages speaking and advocating for just to create, for us to create more opportunity. I 100% agree on that. And it comes through the relationship. I think you and I clicked right off the back, and then now is just, we naturally, and I feel like eventually we're going to end up doing business together, because I want to learn a lot about multifamily, and I've been saying it for the last year. So I just transmit it to the universe. Like, I'm done with with residential. I swear to God, residential ADUs, I'm over it. Like, I want to do the ADU movement, but in multifamily, and be the value add to the value add on these buildings, Yeah.
Oh, I love, first of all, that's a whole slogan. I see what you did there.
Yeah. You saw that? Yeah.
I saw that. That was good. That was really good.
Yep,
Well,
yep.
and I believe you can and you will. You can and you will. So, when I got to give you some credit and
Thank
a lot
you.
of credit, because when you and I first started talking, I remember we got on the phone. I think we talked for almost an hour one day, and you were walking me through some developer that was buying a project to redevelop, whatever. And I'm like, wow, this is incredible. This is a way that you can market yourself. But I've literally seen you lay a brick every day, right? Adding to the business. You are living and breathing this. And so
Right.
you have to acknowledge that starting point, which I've seen you grow and flourish. So even though you're not, doing big multifamily deals yet, you are way farther along than you were
Than where I was when I first started, because you met me when Kelani met me, guys, when I didn't know anything. I mean, I knew somewhat about ADUs, but I was doing helping coordinate the first ADU event when she flew out here. And that event and that person that we did the event with helped me realize like my worth. I was like, okay, if this person is out here not doing ethical things, and he would manage to somehow get a shit ton of people from all over the country to fly in, right? Well, who's to say that I can't do this? And then seeing you guys up there, I was like, okay, I it was like a limited belief that I had to unlock. And I was like, okay, I deserve this shit, but I need to feed myself knowledge. I need to go to events. I need to invest in myself. I need to take action. And just like I started the podcast without knowing podcasting, I started the meetups without knowing meetups, and just threw myself into it, like fearless. But
That's
it's
what you
brought
have
a
to
lot
do.
of dope relationships.
Absolutely. And now you're looked at as, an authority in the space. I don't know of anyone else that comes to mind when it comes to ADU.
That
Besides
conversation was
you.
another powerful one, because then you opened my mindset to multifamily, right? And you said, yeah, this is how you want to position yourself. This is how you want to speak. This is what you should be doing. I remember that conversation clearly. And then soon after that, I flew out to Houston, and that was another eye opener. And yeah, like I said, what you guys are doing is a powerful movement, because it's not just bringing people together. It's like bringing them together and then giving them practical, tactical steps that they can walk out with. And they walk out with the network on top of that, like the cherry on top, right?
Well, we're intentional about that. I'm so glad that was your experience, because that's a big pet peeve of mine and Brittany too, is, there's so much fluff. And when you go somewhere, you spend time to travel somewhere, you buy this ticket, you invest in yourself, whatever it costs money, whichever you should, everybody, if you're listening, if you can hear my voice, you should be investing in yourself.
You should.
But there's so many things that happen where you walk in and then you're just being upsold. You didn't actually get the what you came for. The juice wasn't worth the squeeze. So for us, it's super important that we provide that value. But what I will say is, you have to be ready to receive that. you know.
That's what I was gonna say. Like as much as you guys are intentional with doing the meetups, the people going also have to go with an intention. Like I flew out there by myself and I was like, okay, I'm going with an open mind to meet people, to create opportunity. And I came in with that vibe off the back. So you're right. It's a two-way street. You know, as much as you guys are intentional with it, the people showing up also have to be intentional.
Well, and you were ready when we started talking about you
Yeah.
wanting to get into this in the first place. Now, I have conversations with a lot of people, and I would say maybe less than 30%, and that might be even a little generous, are actually ready to act on the things that they say they want to do. You
Right.
can take the horse to the water, but you can't make them drink. And so for those of us who have to be twice as good, to be twice as visible, to just get an equitable shot or opportunity in a space or whatever, you know, for those of us who are taking it serious, like, you extract the value from these settings and these events. And even whether it's an in-person event or not, that's just the culture that we embody in our in Wire. And if you were to log into our portal right now and start talking to our members or scroll our feed, you'll see how just, I think you can feel the energy through the screen, how supportive everyone is, how helpful everyone is. And that's the point. And if, as women, if we aren't in an environment that is conducive to our growth, that could really make or break your success, your trajectory, your spirit, and as far as even wanting to continue. So if God's put something on your heart and you know that you're supposed to be doing something and you are with a partner or a spouse or in a life situation that's not supportive of that, we have
Right.
to acknowledge that. You have to at least, and I'm not going to tell anyone to change their whole life or uproot their whole life, but at least get yourself around some people that understand what you're going through, because that little bit of encouragement, that one little nugget of advice can shorten that learning curve for you and completely alter your trajectory if you're just that much more encouraged or you had that much more help. Or, you know, like one of my members literally the other day, last week, she was freaking out about this deal. And I'm like, hold on, okay, let's write up the terms of this addendum
Mm-hmm.
for this
Mm-hmm.
deal for you. And I wrote them up with her and for her. I said, well, now run them by your attorney and your agent, but this is how we're going to get this to work. And literally saved a bunch of heartache. It's not even about the money. It's the stress and the
It's the
heartache that
stress and the
stress.
confidence that you're able to give women. You know, I have a real estate team. Most of the girls on my team are women.
Mhm.
Two of them are moms. And a lot of my role throughout the day in helping them facilitate the escrows and negotiating is mindset and giving them the confidence. Like, you got this. You need to go talk to the other agent, come to a fair agreement, say XYZ. But I think
Mhm.
it's also the experience for the last 10 years that it's just like second nature for me to problem solve. And, you know, I did property management when I was married up in Palm Springs. I lived there for a couple years. I did property management and HOA management. And I learned a lot of dealing with people. And then after my divorce, that was probably the worst shit that could have happened to me. So after that, you know, and Alex was about 4, I had to set the reset button and start all over. And it was scary. But then when I overcame that, I feel like that's why I'm as fearless as I am right now, because I don't really care. If I fail, I'll get back up, just like I did when I got divorced and I had to start all over. And I didn't know if real estate was going to be it for me. And real estate is difficult because I remember year 1, I was going through my divorce. I'm starting over. I got a kid that I got to feed and full time. And you got to show up to work and to these deals and to clients like nothing's happening, right? So it
No.
really messes up with your mindset. You got to put your emotions to the side. And people
Yeah.
are like, damn, Steph, you're always like so calm and chill. And I'm like, I have the contrast of what it is not to be calm. Let's just say.
Right. Don't worry. It's in there
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah, it is there somewhere, but
Yeah.
it's the contrast of going through these life experiences that really humble you and keep you in a state of mind where you're calm and you're solution based, and you transmit that confidence to other women. I think a big part of real estate is having that confidence. Like, you limit yourself in your belief systems so much, and a lot of it has to do with how we were raised, and then the fact that, you know, you don't see a lot of women in real estate. You guys are a big part of that movement where we're going to start seeing a lot more. But you guys cultivating and curating spaces like that for women just the confidence booster is all it takes many times for people to take action, or women to want to take action, right? It's like that confidence for sure.
Well, and I think too, it's the reason that you can be so calm now is because you've experienced enough to realize, okay, the world's not over.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
So for all of the new agents and licensees, well, even I guess investors, wholesalers,
Yeah,
I
them
promise
too.
you, the first deal is always the worst. I don't know what it is about. I don't know if it's a Murphy's Law, but everyone I have ever hired, trained, worked with, like their first deal, they're so excited. I got this client, and anything that can go wrong will go wrong. And it doesn't matter how hard you
Yep.
train, how many classes you've taken, every deal it's a case by case basis. And I think to a lot of people, it feels like the world is ending in those moments. And the truth is everything is figure outable. Real estate is actually very it's not as difficult. It's easy when you think about what you can do. Everything is doable with disclosure, right? So if you know everyone's role and what their purpose is, it's really the unseasoned professionals that make you think that it's difficult. So it's the
Yep.
realtor on the other end that's like, I've been doing this 25 years. Can't happen this way. Like, well, how many deals have you done in 25 years? One a
Hmm.
year? Okay, well, you're probably not quite up to date now. And like let me help you through this and why this is
Right.
okay. That's why being educated is so important. And a lot of times that education just comes with experience, and the only way you're going to get experience is if you throw yourself into the fire, and being okay with making mistakes, so to speak. If you have a good coach, if you're on Stephanie's team, she's not going to
Hmm.
let you burn the house down, right? She's going
Right.
to make
Right.
sure that you are equipped enough, and she's going to push you, might make you uncomfortable, but we know what's make or break here. And at the end of the day, almost everything is figure outable. So when you go into it with that mindset, I would encourage people and I learned this from a friend a while ago, as far as reframing what failure looks like to you, and
Mm.
understanding that the quicker you fail, the quicker you fix it. And yeah, so reframing it. And what does failure actually even mean anyway? It's some crazy construct that we've created, and it's maybe you didn't get this one right. It's just,
Right.
how can I do this better? And then also not thinking about the destination, where you're trying to go, where the goal is, what I'm trying to do. The truth is everything that you need already exists right here. You're right where you're supposed to be. Now just be the best version of you. That should be the only focus. And so once you know who you are, you figured out who you're meant to be, your identity, all that fear goes out the window.
And I think the purpose, right? Once you find your purpose, like I see you and Brittany, and you guys are just, you can tell that you guys are clear on your vision. And although you said earlier you might not be where you want to be, you're enjoying it because you understand it's part of the process, and that goal just seems to keep growing every time, right? As a new investor or new buyer in the market or new realtor, it's always scary, but then you close that first deal, and now it's like, okay, how do I maintain closing X amount of deals, and how do I sustain, or scale a business? Like there's
Right.
levels to this, it's never ending. So I feel like it's just you being comfortable with yourself evolving, and I try to focus on just being able to grow a little bit every single day, and I don't overwhelm myself if I didn't hit my goal. Like I was supposed to do 50 episodes last year, I did like 25. It's cool. Like I'm not gonna sit
Right.
here and cry and twiddle my thumbs. Like, no, let's just keep it moving. At least I've done some, and I've connected with a lot of people, and like you said, it's quality over quantity.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
it just understanding that the goals are there, like to set a bar, but you have to really trust the process and enjoy yourself in that growth.
Well, and it's funny you say that, because I say something similar all the time. For me, that's when I felt like I started to become successful. Now, people define success in a lot
Success,
of
yes,
different
yes.
ways.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a little bougie. I like nice things, but I'm not materialistic. And the cars and the villas and the boats and the stacks of money on the podcast, desk while we're filming, like some that, we won't name or whatever. All that stuff is
We should have done
cool.
that. I'll make sure to add them in the video edits.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Or like when people show up to conferences and, rev the Lamborghini engines out front of the conference center and park it in front, like nobody really cares about that stuff. Success looks different for different people. And I would encourage people to really start to create their own ideals of success and not what they consume on social media, not what anyone told them it should be. Maybe success for them looks like happiness. Maybe it looks like a property that you're passing to Alex, or a college fund set up for many generations, or a
Mm-hmm.
business, land trusts with all of your properties and whatever, right? That looks like maybe it's infinite banking and whole life insurance policies, whatever that looks like for you, that's okay. But I started to really feel like I was experiencing success when I got really present and I stopped thinking about, okay, because if I just sat if I sat in this chair right now and I thought about what Wire is going to be in 5 years and what it's going to be in 10 years, I would be overwhelmed. I wouldn't do anything. I'd be crippled by the
By the
vision,
fact of what could be. Mm-hmm.
what could be. But I realize that I'm doing work that feels good to my soul and I'm helping people in a way that I never thought I would help them. And for that reason, I'm happy and I'm more present than I've ever been. And to me, that feels like success. My life before a couple years ago, it was a blur. I think of all of the things. I've got a crazy resume. I've done so many things. I've got all these great skills. I don't remember half of the shit that I did. I'm like, what was I doing? And
But looking back at it now, do you think that that's why you are who you are now, thanks to all those jobs and all that skill set? And it might have been a blur. I feel the same way, right? I started off as a receptionist at a Century 21 office 10 years ago. And I feel like 10 years later, yeah, a lot of that I had to live through and I had to go through. And it was just written out for me to be who I am today. It plays a part. And I just like what you're going through right now and what you guys are building and co-creating with Wire. You may have an idea of where it's going to be in the next 5 years, but God may have other plans for you that are like way out of like your head, that you wouldn't even have thought of. Because now you're traveling everywhere. I see your guys' calendar and I'm like, damn, that's goals. I want to do that. I want to be able to travel and
yeah,
just share with other people and grow. It feels really dope that, I'm sure if you go to Houston, you have people you can call and they show up. If you go to Mexico, I know you guys also go out there. You just start building true relationships with people. And I think that's the biggest ROI. And we keep talking about relationships, but I don't think people get it until you're there, until you are being intentional about connecting with people and have true, genuine relationships.
yeah. So I think so you asked me a question that I'm going to answer, and then I'm going to
Yeah, yeah.
back
I
out
know
to
I
that.
go off,
No,
bring you
no, it's
back.
okay. Do I think that what I've been through and experienced, it made me who I am today and contributed to who I am today?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. But I also, and I think a lot of women probably can relate to kind of being in fight or flight, or,
Oh my God, yes.
right, out of survival
Mm-hmm.
necessity,
Mm-hmm.
right? And being competitive and navigating. So commercial real estate, which is my industry now, is very not diverse. And a big part of our mission is to help diversify that industry. And what I will say is, because I spent so much time surviving, I hadn't given myself enough space to breathe and do the inner work to make sure that I was aligned. Because although I'm working and I'm learning things, everything that's good isn't God necessarily. And my goal now is just to be in alignment and do what I was put on the planet to do. That's my goal.
Damn, that's big. The fact that you said, being in that struggle or survival mode for a while and now being into alignment, I think that's the word I was looking for earlier when I said purpose. It's like purpose and alignment and intentionality. Those three things together is just, it creates clarity and it really has you focus in the present and you get creative. I think we're kind of on the same path in our journeys. That's why we connect. And I get very creative now that I'm created my own niche, right? And nobody's doing what I'm doing. So I like that. I like the fact that I can't compare myself to anybody and nobody can compare themselves to me. And I'm constantly thinking outside the box and doing other things, but I'm in my essence, like I'm in my zone, just creative, you know. But before, you're right, I was in survival mode. You're just like trying to survive, or it might be also a mindset shift too that played a part for sure. But being in alignment is key, 1000%. Let me pull up some of the other questions that I had here before our time
We'll
passes us
just go
by,
off
because
on
we're
us.
like 40 minutes and I will go on and on, guys. But make sure you guys check her out. For those of you listening on Spotify, YouTube, or wherever, make sure you guys check her out on Instagram. And you guys host the Clubhouse room still, right? Every so often?
Every so often. I'm more so a part of other people's now, but we're trying to get more intentional about getting back on Clubhouse. But the best way to talk to me is really to become a part of Wire.
Which I
That's
need
really
to too. But I think we were talking offline, and I think we're going to be doing some dope stuff here in LA. So I'm just really excited to be part of it, and to be able to be an extension, you know, a little tiny extension of Wire. That's the way to go, is collaboration too, on top of relationships. It's like really intentional
collaboration over
collabs,
competition
man. Yeah.
every time.
Yeah, you
That's
get to
our motto.
share and tap into each other's networks and database. And if you really care for your database, then you're going to introduce them to other databases that also can share knowledge, share so much, you know. We kind of went through most of them, but I do have one. What do you see the future of real estate, and how do you think women can position themselves? And let's talk about commercial, because, you know, I'm over residential. Nobody heard that, only me, but and that, I'll leave that for another episode on how I feel about it. But no, I love it. I love residential, nothing against it. I just feel like so part of me wants to grow more in commercial, particularly multifamily, because I see the strategy of how I would position myself. So what do you think, you know, if somebody wanted to start tapping into commercial, aside from going to Wire, because I know you guys bring a lot of experts in commercial, how can they get started, right? And how should they position themselves? Because you're in it day by day.
Yeah. So commercial real estate, it sounds sexy. Real estate, I think in general, people think it's some sexy
They think
glamorous,
it's sexy,
like
yeah.
we're all rich. Like, no, it's not the case. It's a grind. So if you think about commercial real estate as far as being a broker or transacting, right, working in the field, um, as a producer, it's like taking residential real estate and stretching out your transaction like times, lengths, um, and taking every emotion out of it. And so it's transacting is transacting. There's a lot of transferable skills, but I think people first of all need to decide how you want to work in the industry. Do you want to work at a big box firm and with like the CBREs, Cushman and Wakefield's, Marcus and Millichap's of the world? CBRE is my first love in commercial real estate. And although I am not at CB anymore because Wire has taken over my life, we are partnered. They support Wire in a lot of ways. We actually are doing an event series with them, which we haven't even fully announced yet. So it's kind of
Nice.
but nonetheless, they're really supportive of what we do, but that's because they understand the importance of diversity. So if you want to go big box and you want to be a corporate commercial broker, there are ways to navigate that space. But if you want to do, the boutique route, this is where the industry really struggles. So for people, maybe even like Stephanie, we can use you as an example, because I'm sure that you've probably experienced some of these roadblocks where it's like, I want to get into commercial, but my lifeline, my business is this residential. This is how I eat. This is
Right.
how I feed my child. It's hard to just make that whole leap when, you are expected to go create a whole book of business and be 100% commission, when in a business where transactions take months and months and months to close, let alone it takes months and months, even years, to create a book of business or a client base that you're going to service, when it's such a monopolized space to play in. So, there's a couple ways to get started. And if there's, okay, let me break it down. Commercial real estate really kind of falls in two buckets. There's advisory and then there's investment sales. Okay, investment sales are like trading of the asset. Okay, like we're selling or acquiring the entire asset, the building or portfolio. Advisory is advising clients or tenant representation or landlord representation or like labor analytics and like advisory. We're advising these clients, we're negotiating their lease terms, all of that stuff. There's money to be made in both, but they're on
Okay.
both sides. Most people don't really, unless you understand commercial real estate well, don't really know too much about the advisory side, but they're considered brokers too, just a different type of broker.
Hmm.
If you want to get started in either one, you can do so, but the broker that you're with plays a really big part, because any smart broker that is a responsible fiduciary knows that you are not supposed to practice outside of your area of expertise. And if you have a residential broker who's never seen a commercial lease or a commercial contract, LOI, or any of those things,
Hmm.
they're not operating in their scope of expertise, which opens you up for a lot of liability. So what I always tell people is you need to find brokers to partner with, or ones that will teach you or take you under their wing. You can either join their team, or you go direct to seller and you find the deal flow, you take control of a deal, and you bring in who's going to help you. Now, this is kind of something that we talked about early on, Steph, because you're like, I want to get into this multifamily space.
Hmm.
Well, when you're talking about corporate commercial big box real estate, we're talking about 1,000 door portfolios. We're talking about 500 unit assets. Well, there's a lot less than that to cut your teeth,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. We could start
So
off with the 20 unit or 100.
five,
Like,
let me get five. Let me just
right,
understand,
right.
So
And the reason why I asked you is because through the meetups, I've been able to connect with, and because I put it out there and I let people know that I'm looking to invest and partner up with people that are looking to probably build ADUs. My equity share would be that I streamline the entire process for them. And I'm working with a few investors and just trying to get creative. But my job right now is to find that off-market deal that has a value add play with ADUs, and I connect them with everybody. One of the investors has a PM background, so he can take on that. And then the other investor has a capital. So that came through one of the meetups. So now I'm like, okay, I don't really care about the transaction or making a commission off of these deals. How can I become part of the deal? Right. And I feel like in multifamily, I have better opportunity and leverage than in residential, right? In residential, I offer consulting services for the ADUs and streamlining that process for them. But it's just a small fee, right? It's like it's scalable, but for long-term wealth, at least for me and how I want to position myself is that way. So that you're right about that. I've been talking to Andrew, who came on the live. He's a developer here in LA, and I see Ahmed, so hopefully I get to pick his brain next month. But I'm in the process of getting my broker's license this year. I'm really hoping that I can partner up or connect with people. So if you have anybody here in LA that I can shadow or kind of start connecting with, I feel like you're right. It takes time to build a database and build a business or people that you're going to service in multifamily, just like it does in residential. I mean, as a new realtor, you're not going to sell 20 homes right off the back first year unless you're with the team who's feeding you leads, right, to get to those numbers. But the first 2-3 years, you're really building a brand, you're building a business, you're opening up shop, right? And you're positioning yourself in a way where once people understand that and you've built a brand or a community, they come to you when they're ready.
absolutely. Well, and what you're doing too is you're creating a niche for yourself that
Mhm.
obviously there's a need, but I want to ask you a couple of questions, because I
Yeah.
think it's important to, and I think I know the answers, but I want people that are listening to understand your thought process. Why is multifamily more attractive to you?
Well, one, like I mentioned right now, because I feel like I can position myself as an equity partner, right? LP or GP. I'm kind of learning my terminology here, but I see the opportunity for myself and also for other women, for the girls on the team. I'm also having them think outside the box on how we can leverage multifamily so that we can still service residential, but you're no longer in survival mode. Like you're closing escrows casually as they come, or as you attract people that you know, like, and trust and want to work with. So I would say leveraging that and positioning myself in a way where I can invest in multifamily. And then
Let's
the
talk
second,
about that.
Yeah. Okay.
Before you even move on, let's talk about that. So I love the fact that you're talking about how you're offering your value add for an equity position,
That's why I
which
said I want to be the value add to the value add place.
and I knew what you meant when you said it.
Yeah,
I got it.
I know.
I got it. And so,
Yeah.
but let's explain to people that are listening in,
Mhm.
when you're talking about commercial real estate, it's all about numbers. It's all about making the
All
math.
about numbers.
Right. And so if you are positively disrupting a space that historically has been a very black and white, very easy trade of, okay, this is the asset, this is how it's performing, this is the income, these are the expenses, here's our NOI or our net operating
Right.
income, our cap rate. Does this work for you or not? Right. And when you take a new investment strategy and you help increase the NOI in a
That's what I
way.
was going to say. Yeah. Increasing the NOI is part two, right? Because if I'm presenting this to investors and I'm creating a pitch deck, I want to get your feedback on all of that. But creating a pitch deck or some sort of proposal that outlines what the value add would be and what the numbers would look like, right? Let's assume that it's a 10-unit building and I'm talking to the broker, the principal, or the landlord, and showing them how they can add 3 or 4 ADUs, that's increasing the NOI. And all I have to do is just really play out the numbers on what's going to cost to build, right? And what the ARV is going to be after that. And I have a real good friend of mine who I'm doing meetups with, Sydney, who's an appraiser, and he specializes in comping out ADUs because that's our biggest thing right now. I was working on comping one right now before we started this because a lot of people have questions on what the value add is. So I'm just thinking ahead and I'm like, that's another added skill set that I can bring to the table with the team that I've formed, right? And just present it that way. So I think for me, I've been advocating a lot on the residential space and talking to homeowners on how they can, at a very basic level, convert the garage or, add a 1,200 square foot ADU in their backyard. But now I want to start having conversations with brokers and people in multifamily on how we can analyze their assets for free and then give them, right, an analysis, a feasibility analysis on what they can build. And then based on that, I feel like if the NOI is more, these are number-based people. So 9 times out of 10, it's going to pencil out and they're going to be like, let's go, and let's do it. Or how can we add you as part of the deal, Steph, right?
100%. So I
Yeah.
think what's important about this is because you've assembled this team and you've got these, you're becoming the expert here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is super important, which is your value add as a broker furthermore. So you have your value add proposition for an equity stake, but whether or not a seller or an owner, principal, landlord, whomever, whether they actually carry out the improvement or not, you have just altered their exit strategy, which is a huge value add. So for someone who was looking to possibly sell, I'm selling at this price point for what the asset is now, but you put together a comprehensive ADU strategy and now all of a sudden we're going to sell for a little bit more because of the potential upside, right? And most brokers, if you're not well versed in that and you're beating everybody to the punch, that's,
and I would say, just as a bonus tip for those who are considering that, I would also add in there, if they wanted to sell it and get plans approved, what takes the longest is getting those plans approved. But you can probably sell them at a higher premium with those plans approved already.
Everything that you do to improve the property increases its value. So whether they carry it out or not, you have
But you're
altered.
right. You opened up the mindset to the exit strategy. And even if they don't want to, let's say, build an ADU, then now they're thinking for future purposes on future acquisitions or possibly doing a 1031 exchange to something that does have ADU potential, right? Because here in California, I'm seeing it more and more. There's a company called Houseable, and my friend Armando is the lead ADU designer for that company. And they built about 300 ADUs last year in all of California in the residential sector. But this year, the CEO decided to go strictly multifamily. They're not doing ADUs and residential anymore. And I was like, damn, for the CEO to literally like all the residential leads, they're not servicing them. They just completely stopped. And he gives me some of those leads sometimes because, again, we have that relationship. And so I still service the residential leads, but for him to do that, that means he sees the opportunity that I'm seeing, right? He's already 2-3 steps ahead. If you go to their website, they give you a feasibility analysis on what you can build for your portfolio, but it's all multifamily now. And I feel like a lot of the ADU companies right now are struggling because rates are high. Just like people can't afford to buy, they also can't afford to build. If they can barely buy the house, let alone the build out, right? So I feel like there isn't a lot of capital to play with in the residential sector, whereas in multifamily, these people are number based. The asset is already there. You're analyzing the asset for what it's producing. And so it's like a no brainer, right? So just, yeah.
And there are going to be challenges, you know, financially in the commercial space. I mean, they're seeing it.
I'm sure they're, yeah,
Capital. But nonetheless, at least you're a lot more prepared for that. You know, you
what I'm
underwrite.
having a hard time understanding is the cap rate. How does that all play a role? And if we increase more units, what does that do to the cap rate? Like, can you explain that?
Sure. It doesn't matter. And that
Okay.
probably sounds crazy to
All right,
people.
that's enough. That's all I needed to know.
Yeah, your cap rate is actually kind of subjective, and it only matters when it comes time to sell. So if someone is holding
Okay.
long term, at the end of the day, we're worried about cash flow. Obviously you don't want to over improve, but multifamily has proven to be one of the most secure and best performing asset classes because of the need for housing. So obviously not every market is the same. And if most of the folks, your listeners are coming from California too,
Mm-hmm.
Southern California, you guys know that you're actually in a housing crisis. So that there's not enough units to service the people that need affordable places to live. That's
Right.
exactly all of this started, why the whole ADU game started. So that being said, cap rates don't really matter until you go to exit. And to be perfectly honest, cap rates are really predicated on your own personal underwriting. So if you are looking online and you're pulling data and you want to see some comps for multifamily and they're like, oh, this sold at a 6 cap or 5 cap or whatever it sold for, that's and first of all, we don't even know how necessarily accurate that is because we don't know the terms of the deal, right? So it can matter, but it depends. Like if you and I are both bidding for the same asset, we're taking a look at all of the financials. We're putting them into our personal models based on numbers that work for us. What we do know, the only finite thing that we know is how the asset has performed up until this point. Now, what we do to the asset to increase NOI, to push rents, if we're adding value, adding ADUs, you know, how much we have to spend to increase rents or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. We're looking at that net operating income over time. And that term is called IRR, your internal rate of return. ROI is your return on investment, but that's, you know, that's right now or maybe after the year.
Mm-hmm.
Your IRR will tell you your return over time. Now, where cap rate matters is when, okay, well, let me go back to my example. We're bidding for the same property, right? So we taking a look at the financials, but say I can leverage debt at a 6% interest rate and you can leverage debt at a 7% interest rate. So mine's better. Money costs less for me.
Less for
So
you.
I essentially am making more income. So my net operating income is higher, which means my cap rate is better because I'm netting more money, right? So for me, this deal makes sense because let's just say I can buy this at a 7 cap and the comps in the neighborhood, supporting comps have sold around a 7 cap. It makes sense. But for you, your debt and what you're getting quoted, but puts it at a 6 cap. Is that okay for you? Is that okay for your investors? Do you like that? Is this a long-term appreciation play or is this a cash flow play to where it matters? So I think there's so much emphasis on cap rates where they don't necessarily need to be because it's super subjective.
Got it. That makes total sense. It's very subjective. So you're right. I always wondered, and I'm like, how does that even play a role? I understand IRR, I understand the ROI, the NOI, but I'm like, the cap rate is just always, you hear here in LA, like three and a half or 4% or 5, like but you just explained it, so that makes total sense for sure.
Well, let's add just a little bit more color to that. And I know we'll get off this topic because I know we
Mhm.
got to go. But if a property is for sale, and I know this because I'm a broker, when a property is for sale and I have an OM or an offering memorandum out on a multifamily asset, and we're advertising this at a, buy this at a 6% cap, which at a point in time is really good for multifamily, depending on the vintage and the use, right?
Mhm.
6% cap rate. I am painting the picture of the best case scenario of this asset, right? Not how it's necessarily performing today, but how I think that you're going to underwrite it to perform over the next 1, 3, and 5 years, right?
Got
I'm
it.
painting the picture. So I didn't just take the last 12 months, the T12 of financials to
Mhm.
numbers. I took like maybe the last T3 and
And went
annualized,
based off that.
right? And annualized them and said, here's
Mhm.
great. So it's really important that, as you guys are, anyone listening, as you're evaluating assets, you come up with your own set of financials. You do not just believe what you see online or what a broker is saying. They're painting the best case scenario. And that includes how they underwrote the deal for taxes, how they underwrote the deal for reserves, how they underwrote the deal for pushing rents, right? So don't be fooled by that. Make sure
Yeah,
you
do your own underwriting and own analysis too. I agree 100%. Or hit up Kelani, because they have a network of people if you need that.
got people for that.
Yeah. Well, I think that was it for today. Any closing thoughts, anything you want to share with people? Oh, next month, what are we doing next month? And hopefully we can get more sponsorship. If you can share what's happening, how people can get involved, whether they can go and make it or not.
Oh, absolutely. I would love to. So, Stephanie has so graciously volunteered her time to be a part of this event with us.
Well,
So,
I didn't really want to go to Vegas. Like
of
you
course
text
not.
me
Who
and I was
wants to
like, who
go
wants to who wants to go to Vegas?
on fight weekend at that? Um,
Are you kidding me? I was like, I'm there. I texted her back right away.
you did. It's the relationship, like whatever you need, I'm
Mhm.
there.
Yeah, I was like, I'm there. How can I be there?
All right. So, anyway, one of the things, especially in commercial real estate, they say deals get done on the golf course. And I can't tell you how many of my colleagues have, they're not in the office. I'm out on the golf course with this client. I'm out on the golf course with this person, and they're doing deals on the golf course. And typically women of color, minorities do not have access to country clubs or have not grown up taking golf lessons or have, whatever. We're not typically in that space.
In
And
that space.
the golf world hasn't been known for being equitable either. So I have a chapter leader. Her name is Marlene, and she wanted to do golf clinics in her region. And because she's like, we need more women in the space. I'm like, of course we do. So all of our chapter leaders started hosting golf clinics, and we were like, wow, this is incredible. And we did all of that to lead to our first annual Investors Invitational Charity Golf Tournament. And we solved for not having access to country clubs by just renting out the whole country club. So
Mic
that's
drop. She was like, we're getting the whole thing.
we're getting
I haven't really golfed. I know my brother golfs, and you're right. He's always out on the field and has all these deals. And I'm like, where? You're never at the office. They're out on the field in these golf courses because there's a specific type of avatar that has the luxury to go and play golf, for a couple
right.
hours. And that's
Exactly.
typically not us. Like you said, minorities don't really have access to it. So
How expensive it is
if
to be a
you
part
don't
of
have
golf.
to be a golfer either, like we're open to bringing this experience. Again, you guys do a good job of just having an experience for people. And I'm excited to go and connect and hang out at a country club and learn about golf
Sit
because
in the
I
most,
understand
learn about golf, learn about real estate. Yes, you could, if
exactly.
you're a golfer or non-golfer, doesn't matter. That's why we rented out the whole facility, not
Mhm.
just the course itself. So there's a ticket for golfers, ticket for non-golfers, but and for the entire day, we've got programming all day. We've got food, we've got drinks. The weather's going to be
Mhm.
amazing. And you can help Stephanie raise money for the cause. So this is not putting money directly into our pockets. This is all for a good cause. So we are supporting two causes. The first one is Hope Housing Foundation, which is a nonprofit that is dedicated to building 20,000 affordable housing units in the next 5 years. and also our initiative called Wire Next. So Women in Real Estate Next. We have an initiative where we are introducing high school and undergrad students to the world of real estate and entrepreneurship by subsidizing their membership to our platform, sourcing internship opportunities and volunteer
Oh, that's
opportunities.
so dope.
Thank you. So that's the cause. And so as Stephanie being a coach and being a part of this, essentially, if you buy a ticket, use her code, you can get a discount, or if you want to sponsor or come with her, hang out with her, meet all of the other industry professionals that we have. Anything that you use with her code, she gets credit for. And all of our coaches are in a fundraising competition.
So you guys better donate, whoever's listening to this podcast. We need
Absolutely.
you guys to donate and help out. I'm super excited for it. I'm just excited to see who we can connect with, who we can share value with, and just be there, and experience the first one, right, of many, because I'm sure after this, it'll be a consistent theme throughout. I already know.
That's the goal. And I want to tell folks who's going to be there. We have, as having this platform of over 70,000 strong, it's not many people I can't get access to at this point. And I throw the weight of our platform around like, hey, this is who I am. This is what I do. This is what we represent. And this is your target demographic. You guys need women and minorities. I got them. Take my meeting. So
Yeah.
That's kind of how we do that. And that being said, we've really opened this up to our entire network. So we're going to have fund managers, asset managers, developers, people that own hundreds of thousands of units of multifamily real estate, family office, I get principals, right? And people that are responsible for investing money, athletes, like the whole gambit of people that you want to be around to expand your network. We've got some of the most top performing real estate teams from the Bay Area and from Las Vegas that are going to be there. So if you want to get in that environment, and Stephanie is just a testimony of what your network can do. This is that type of environment. You don't even have to golf. So just come out.
Yeah, you just have to show up. Like if you show up, I guarantee you'll walk out with an experience. You're going to walk out with a huge network of people that you wouldn't else have had. You wouldn't have had if you don't pay to play or donate in order to just have access and be part of that environment. I'm super grateful for the opportunity, and we will be closing this out, guys. I got to go pick up my son from school, and I know Kelani has a million things. She's always traveling, so I had to really get on her schedule for today. But I will be seeing you next month. Thank you so much, Kelani. I will be uploading this on Spotify, YouTube, and you'll hear it. And I hope that everybody really enjoyed the conversation. I feel like we shared a lot. This was very women empowerment vibes, and I think we should have it like every quarter or so to see where you guys are at and kind of give people an update of what you guys are doing. So make sure you guys connect with her. Women in Real Estate is your Instagram. Kelani, what's your Instagram?
My personal Instagram is Kelani B, KELANIB. The Women in Real Estate Instagram is women.in.realestate.
That's what it is.
Yeah. Our official website is just joinwomeninrealestate.com.
There you go. And for all the women in real estate, do you have to be licensed to be a member? No, right?
No. That's the beautiful thing about our membership base and why we can help so many people. We've got folks that are really seasoned and also really new, and they do all kinds of different things. Again, you can be licensed, you can be an investor. I've got syndicators, I've got developers, lawyers, mortgage
and
people.
I've met a couple of them. So check it out, guys. Thank you again so much, Kelani. I really appreciate you, and I will see you guys, and I'll see you next month, and I'll see you guys next week. All right.
Thank you
Peace
so
out,
much,
guys. Thank you.